You know, Morgan, hope is a very powerful thing as a sports fan.
It is.
And I think like a week ago, a lot of people in Kingsland, not very hopeful. And then we get a draft, and I got to be honest, dude, it has sucked me in, you in. The fans are feeling pretty good just because of what has transpired in the last like 2 days.
I'm not as hopeful as you, but what gives me hope, I think there's different levels of hope. And the level of hope that I'm at compared to you, you're like, irrational hope always. Like, no, it's so adorable. Okay. But then my hope is more like, whoa, this front office likes tall, big people. Yay, that's basketball.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is exciting. And it's funny because, hey, we may see these guys in Summer League and go, oh my God, who knows? But the NBA draft, it's done. It's over. The Kings walked into the draft without a first-round pick. Yep. They end up drafting the first round, getting Nick Clifford. And then the second round, they get a big guy.
A big guy.
Who could stretch the floor. Okay. Morgan, stretch five?
I know.
We got a stretch five who moves well. Our French king.
Is he our French king?
Yes. Maxime Raynaud.
Say that again?
Maxime Raynaud.
Yeah, I want to get his name right, so.
I think it's Maxime Raynaud.
I know it's Raynaud. I know it's Raynaud, but Maxime. Yeah.
Maxime. It's Mahkseem for the pronunciation. Yeah. Maxime?
Maxime?
Or is it Maxime? Maxime Raynaud.
Maxime?
I'm just calling Maxime Raynaud.
I like it. Either way. I just like his game, so.
Anyway, 22-year-old, grew up in France, spent his college career at Stanford, and similar to Nick Clifford, he's shown tremendous growth the last couple of years. A high usage player last year at Stanford, but he popped. He popped for sure. And for a Sacramento Kings team that hasn't really had a stretch five, like we want Sabonis to be a stretch five, and he's taking more threes. That's exciting. But you were talking about a guy who's 7 foot tall, who's got the size and length that can come out and launch threes.
A 7-footer that can stretch the floor. Mm-hmm. Right there, it excites me because I think you just saw the way that he can move on the floor. And it's like, oh, he's a mobile big too. Like, it's not just it. Look, there's going to be so many things that I read about with his footwork and how he needs to obviously work on that when it comes to the defensive end. But like, looking at the highlights, God, that's me this draft year. Like, usually I'm going back, watching full games, all these different things. This year, I was a little down. I didn't know how to really cover this draft, especially because going into it, the Kings didn't even have a first rounder. And so just really going off highlights this year, trying not to get sucked in by that and just what people are writing about him. But at the same time, when you see it with your own eyes and you see a big player move like he can, and with Stanford, it was like, yeah, it excites you.
He's listed as 7 foot, 7.25 wingspan, and a 9'2" standing reach, 230 pounds. Last year at Stanford, 20 points, 10 rebounds, 1.7 assists per game, shot 46% from the field, 35% from three on 5.5 attempts, 77% free throw shooter. His attempts from three jumped from 1.9 to 5.5 per game. I was watching some of his scrimmage from the draft combine. He participated in one scrimmage 5-on-5, and he was really good. He was missing his threes that day, but like, again, having the ability to have a big that could stretch the floor, but he can also attack closeouts. I think that was some of the stuff we were watching where it's like, whoa, he's got a pump fake, puts the ball on the floor, and then scores inside at the post.
And that's where I was talking about, even with his footwork, when there was such a big knock on his footwork. He has the ability to do it on the offensive end, right? Attack the closeout, like you said, and put the ball on the floor and be aggressive when he's attacking the rim. So on the defensive end, it just gives me hope for a 22-year-old that's like, yeah, he'll have to develop and find ways to figure out what he needs to do on that end of the floor. But also, he's going to have to get stronger, like his build and everything too.
Yeah, I think one of the things, watching some of his stuff last night, I do think he's going to have to be a little more physical.
Okay.
And, part of that you go, okay, like if you're asking a guy to be more physical, is that Is that something you could teach, or do you just have it in you? That's
Yeah.
going to be the question I think I have for him. But the shot blocking got way better in the later stages of last season. And I was watching an interview he did during the pre-draft process, and he was talking about how he had like outside people outside of Stanford
Okay.
kind of break down some things for him defensively.
Cool.
And the final stretch of the season, it was pretty ridiculous from a shot blocking perspective. I heard him talk about, oh yeah, I went from, I doubled it or whatever.
Yeah.
And I went, okay, let me go look back at his game log. So his first 26 games of the season, he had 27 blocks.
Okay.
His last 9 games of the season, he had 23 blocks.
Whoa.
And this wasn't like, oh, he had like 10 in one game and, nothing.
Yeah.
It was like steady. He averaged 2.5 a game. And it's like, okay, did he figure something out there?
Cool.
I know his college
Coachable.
coach did an interview with Sean Cunningham and was talking about how, like, yeah, we didn't really want him blocking a ton of shots because we didn't want him in foul trouble and we needed him on the floor.
Yeah.
They were running everything through him. He was a high usage guy, so like we can't lose him. So I think from a rim protection standpoint, like I think there are signs that he has that in him. I think he moves pretty well. Now, I think one of the questions that we ask about any big is like, okay, when you're being hunted out there, when it's a pick and roll situation, you have to switch out on a guard. That's not a guard in the ACC. It's an NBA level guard.
Yeah.
How are you going to handle yourself?
Yeah. Look, he was picked 42nd in this draft. Wears the number 42 at Stanford, which was interesting. But it's like, I guess, like, again, I go back to what I said at the beginning of this. I just like that this Kings front office wanted to draft a big player.
Yeah.
Something where this NBA is going, it's evolving to, like, you need that size out there and you need big players that are versatile and that can do so much more. So even if he's not ready now as a second round draft pick, it's fine. They're putting someone in their system that they can hopefully develop and teach. I mean, you just saw it from even the numbers that you showed with his blocks. It's like he's coachable. He's willing to put in the work and learn how he needs to get better.
Really smart kid. Went to Stanford.
Yep.
Majored in mathematics.
Oh.
He was actually pursuing a career in astrophysics.
Jesus.
Like, seriously? Like, come on. So I'm eager to see him in the summer league. And, of course, in my head, you're going to laugh at me. I'm like, dude, like, could you picture him playing with Sabonis out there? And I know that's jumping far ahead. But when you think about having another big next to Sabonis, you're trying this too big look.
Yeah.
You do need someone that can step out and hit threes and space
Absolutely.
the floor and protect the rim. I'm like,
Different levels of excitement.
Okay.
Like delusional.
Maybe to bring us down a little bit, but let's get perspectives from 2 Western Conference scouts about him. This is from The Athletic. One scout, somebody's going to get a star in him. Got better each year. A good team is going to get him, and people are going to be like, how did they get him? He's got to get stronger, but he can post up. He can pass. He's got jump hooks, both hands. Turn around, Jay. He can step out and shoot threes, and he can put on the floor. Donovan Clingan went 7 in last year's draft. Zach Edey went 9. Other than Edey being bigger, Raynaud's more skilled than both of them put together.
Why?
Those guys were first-round picks last year.
But
That scout thinks maybe the Kings got a steal.
this is one person, so
All right.
calm down.
Here's another scout.
Jesus.
Here's another scout.
Yeah.
Hates to be touched. In the
Okay.
playoffs, the way they let you play, you've got to get used to a bit of manhandling. He has some talent. He's like Luke Cornett. Not bad. Could shoot the ball, great hands, but hated to be touched. He had to learn. Took him a while, but now he's a serviceable player. Raynaud's better than Cornett, but he's going to have to find somebody who values his finesse.
Okay.
I'll take a Luke Cornett on my team.
Again, teachable things. You even talk about like being physical. And I think sometimes you have to have it in you. But what I feel like what we've seen from people talking about him is that he's willing to put in the work, learn, and kind of understand what he needs to do to get there.
Just excites me. It seems
I can
like
tell.
after years and years of going like, what's the backup big situation? At least you're seeing that Scott Perry has a plan of like, hey,
Yes.
let's get some people who fit the modern game. Like we need somebody
Thank
that
you.
can do more out there, who could stretch the floor, could pass, could score in a variety of looks, and can protect the rim. And then after the draft last night, they signed Dylan Cardwell, the big guy from Auburn,
Big.
to a two-way contract, listed at 6'10", almost a 7'1" wingspan, according to Vicini, 261 pounds. Now, this guy is not going to be shooting threes, although he experimented with it a little bit in college. He is literally in the dunker spot, dunking, rebounding, and then defensively.
A menace.
It is honestly eye-popping what he does out there from a defensive perspective.
Yeah. And it's because he has that wingspan, the long arms, but he also has the feel and the touch of the timing of understanding when to block that shot. It felt like it didn't matter if it was at the rim or even if it was in the mid-range that someone was shooting the ball or trying to get a floater on him or whatever. It's like he just has that feel for everywhere on the floor. And that to me is a total effort thing too. It's a feel thing, but it's like the effort to be able to do that on so many different levels on the defensive end. And that excites me about him.
Sam Vecini's draft guide put a summary out about him saying it's hard to overemphasize how impressive Cardwell was on defense for Auburn this year. He was a huge reason for the team's success. He has a ready-made NBA role, and it's hard to find humans this large who move this well.
Yes.
He's like 260 pounds.
Great way to put it.
He's going to have to become an elite defender to make it as a backup or as a third big, given that he doesn't have much offensive skill. But people seem to like having Cardwell around, and that's an underrated part of being a great deep bench player in the NBA. I wouldn't be stunned if he stuck, and I think he's definitely worth a two-way to find out. One of the things he had mentioned was that he was named Auburn's Student Leader of the Year in 2024. He has an enormous personality and has endeared himself to every source I've spoken to him about during the pre-draft process.
Hey, you like good people around as well, young, good people. It's good for the culture. It's good for the system.
What if he's Mitchell Robinson? And
Great.
that's someone that Scott Perry drafted.
Yeah. No, that's so
You know what I
true.
mean? So I just think about these things and look, I know it's a two-way contract, but you can find two-way gems nowadays, especially with how things work out.
Yes.
Hell, some of these agents are making sure teams don't draft their guys in the second round so they can just get two-way deals at places they want their client to be. You think about someone like Keon Ellis and what he has turned into as a two-way contract. You can develop these guys, and although he's 23 years old, it doesn't mean he can't come in and have an impact. He can come in if he's mature, he handles business, good leader, and he knows his job. It's to go out there, defend. Yeah, he could block shots, but to see him switch out in the perimeter and guard, active hands.
Just having
Why am I getting juiced?
Because you're psycho. But it's even good when you think about him developing in the G League. You know, it always excites me when I think about us being able to call the games for a player like him.
He may be the backup center.
Okay. But my point is that it's like having the right people in your system is oh so important. And I feel like over the years, sometimes it's just been a lot of guards or a lot of good personalities, though. You know, there's been a lot of good people that have been in the two-way system and everything with the Kings. And I think that the front office always did a really good job of that. But it's also about finding the pieces that fit the modern day and age of where the NBA is going. And if you aren't developing that, the big pieces too, well, then you're light years away and way behind.
Yeah, and I'm not sitting here today acting as if the Kings just drafted like 3 All-Stars or 2 All-Stars and a two-way guy. But you start thinking about establishing an identity and a culture, as Scott Perry's talked about. It's like, yeah, what was the Kings' identity last year?
I don't even know.
They didn't have one.
Yeah.
And so I need some toughness. I need some defense. I need rebounding. I need length. I need athleticism. And I need some dogs. And so if this is the first step in that process to establishing that, to me, that's a win. It doesn't mean the Kings don't have a shit ton of other things to do. We've talked about the trades that they probably need to make here, balance out the roster. This is going to be a weird year. We know all that, but I just get excited about these 3 young guys. And even Kevin O'Connor liked the Kings picks.
No way.
No. He gave Neat Clifford his draft grade an A for the Kings.
What? Is he okay?
You know what he gave Maxime Raynaud?
What?
An A+
What?
draft grade. Not that draft grades matter, but it's just funny to see those things.
But I mean, and from KOC.
Yeah, I know. He actually likes it. But yeah, one last thing too, just thinking about the fact that they did draft 2 bigs. You know, you have Sabonis, they trade for Valanciunas. you do wonder if they're thinking about, and maybe it depends on Summer League too, but they're going, hey, like Valanciunas is a very movable deal because of his contract.
Yeah.
Everybody around the league loves him. We want something different at that position. Maybe he is a trade chip, and they do go, hey, we feel comfortable Sabonis is going to play 35 minutes a night, and we can use one of these young guys as our backup.
And I love that thought process if that ends up being the direction that they do go in, because you obviously you would like to see if these bigs are the pieces that they are trying to develop and go forward with, that they do see some minutes.
Yeah, and they're not 19. They're like 22, 23
Right.
years old. So you would think they would be more ready.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, look, there's just going to be a lot of things that we don't know how things are going to go, how this roster is going to look even at the beginning of the season, but I'm excited for it all.
Look, I'm just a little more hopeful than I was before the draft because there's so much unknown. When you start seeing Perry tinker and you're like, oh, I see the vision here. I see in terms of like what you're trying to, okay, that's the type of player you want. Now, 6 months from now, we may hate all these guys.
Deuce, you literally like in the last 3 days
Yeah.
have gone from like normal to a little Delulu. Like a little Delulu. But I think
You've
everyone
watched some of this stuff.
I think everyone, if you're a basketball fan, it's okay to be delusional at times, because that hope and the delusion leads you into joy and fun and again, it's not like these pieces are a whole bunch of 6'1" point guards, and I think that's where we keep going back to. It's exciting to see it just go in the right direction.
I mean, look at what they were doing for backup bigs at one
I
point.
know.
They were bringing Nerlens Noel in for a minute, and JaVale McGee. And
I
just
know.
like, Alex Leonard, can you just find some stability? And I love Valanciunas.
Yeah.
I love JV.
Love.
And if he's part of the team going into next season, there's nothing wrong with that. I think from a leadership
great.
standpoint, he could still help on the floor. But there's also just going to be different problematic matchups for him, as we've seen, right? And so to have some versatility is at the big spot, some youth, something different that you haven't had. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
Let's go. Britton, are you excited for Summer League?
But I was excited for Summer League after Nick Clifford, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, yay, I don't care. Just a draft pick. Obviously, I knew that the Kings had the 42nd pick in the draft, but with second rounders, you don't know. They could have made a trade last minute, and then done whatever. So I wasn't looking forward to it. I also, like I said at the beginning of this, just really did not immerse myself into this draft and a lot of these pieces. I think because my excitement levels were low, which is like such a bad excuse to go in that direction, but they were. I was a little down on where the Kings could actually go in this draft and what was going to happen.
If you believe all the draft nerds, the draft sickos who like look at this shit,
I believe them a lot of times.
They like the Kings picks, and maybe they're just excited because it's like guys that they've evaluated.
Yeah.
Like, I like this guy and he got drafted,
Yeah.
But like Nick Clifford was projected to go higher in some spots.
Yeah.
Same with Raynaud. He was like a late first guy.
Raynaud.
And you get him there. And then even Cardwell, people are like, dude, this guy's. So,
Yeah. And I like that Raynaud only has to move from Palo Alto to Sacramento now.
Yeah. And he's close with
move.
Wembanyama.
Yeah.
Played chess with him. He probably dominated him in chess. Does that show his?
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Just
No.
a different
Okay.
level.
Oh, that means he's the better big.
Dude,
So
the Wembanyama Raynaud showdowns, dude.
Oh my! If he can beat him in chess, he can beat him on the basketball
I
floor.
love that we're saying this. It's going to be like February, and I'm going to be sitting here like, dude, the Kings are 10 games below 500. Raynaud can't get minutes. He can't get minutes. Cardwell is dominating his Stockton. I'm like, dude, I just don't get it. Like, you need this, and you're playing Valanciunas 27 minutes.
I do not want to forget to look back on this very podcast.
Oh, why do I do this to myself every
year?
fucking year?
Every year.
Genuinely, I think you look at Perry's process and it makes sense. That's the thing.
That is where we started at the beginning of this podcast.
The process.
Yes. And that is where we're at again. And we are allowed to vibe off of that.
Just so you know, I know you've got a Valkyries game today.
Yeah.
Valkyries taking on the Sky.
Yeah.
Prepare to smack the Sky.
Angel Reese, Kate Martin. Who you got?
Dude, Kate Martin was letting it fly against the Liberty. While you're doing that,
Yeah.
I think I'm doing film breakdowns on both.
You
those guys.
should. You should.
But they're gonna be like an hour and a half each.
But you know what sucks about this is Deuce during every single Valkyries game sends me notes. Not only notes on what I'm doing, but just like on the actual game. Be like, hey, make sure to look at points in the paint. Do you see how much? Blah, blah, blah. Look at oh wow, they're out rebounding really well. Blah, blah, blah. And so it's like I love that you've been watching every single game, sending me these notes. So yeah, tonight I don't have that, but like
the game's at 7.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be doing this like during the afternoon.
God, you are sick. Like, take a beat.
No.
Take a beat.
This is our time, okay? We got draft over. We're gonna start paying attention to free agency. We're gonna be live on Monday for NBA free agency party. Then we got Vegas Summer League. We're gonna be in Vegas for like 4 days.
Yeah.
Watching these guys, be in the gym. One last note, and I know this has gone everywhere.
Yeah.
And I love this.
Yeah.
ESPN.
What?
During the draft last night, they were promoting Cooper Flagg's first summer league game, which is like, yeah,
Okay.
right. Mavs Lakers,
Okay.
Bronny versus Cooper Flag is what they put up. Yeah, like,
No.
why are we doing this?
That's still a thing?
Yes, ESPN was like, yeah, Cooper Flag and the Mavericks take on Bronny James and the Lakers. I'm like, really?
Now I'm feeling like it's like James propaganda. Like, what are we doing? And like, that's not his fault though. You know what I mean? That's like not his fault. That is so
ESPN.
sad. Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh,
let us know how you're feeling about the Kings draft. Are you irrational a little bit like me? What's your vibe? Let me know in the comments below. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe.
Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo.